Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 24th, 2021 at roughly 7:07 a.m. PST. I got thinking about it yesterday. This whole social standing or social class thing. And there's an old saying that goes, every man is the king of his own castle. Now, whether it's the man is the king of the castle or the woman is the queen of the castle, it applies the same way. It means all of us, in our own worlds, are, quite frankly, royalty. We are all at the top of the totem pole, as it will. Meaning there isn't a single person out there that is worth more than the next. Okay, and it's really important that you understand, especially if you are following some sort of a religious lead or some sort of a theoretically higher consciousness that says that tries guiding you in a positive fashion, it's imperative to realize that by whatever name, God loves all his children, not just the ones of a certain faith or the ones of a certain income or the ones of a certain political alignment or orientation. All of them. Okay. Now, since we all have dominant control over our own world and clearly over our own success, because I've seen people that are handed the world. Okay, they're born with what they call the proverbial spoon, a silver spoon, and they blow it all away because of dumb moves. Okay, now if you think about it, people that are poor, the reason that people that don't have a lot of income adapt as well as they do is they've never had it. But the moment people get a lot of income or a lot of material stuff and they get used to it, all of a sudden life becomes a royal pain in the neck. Okay, and it tends to scatter them, making them edgy, making them a little temperamental and what have you, or more to the point, encouraging them to be so. Now, I've talked to people that a lot of people will grab a Bible or they will grab hold of the Quran or any number of other religious or spiritual tomes and sit there and spend an hour, okay, just reading. Now, in all fairness, in my opinion, if you take that first hour to get your head on straight, okay, just think about how the world would be if you weren't in conflict with everybody else. Okay, or if you weren't in conflict in your own home. The biggest challenge, really, is coming to terms with that person in the mirror. Now, can you, in your world, can you look in the mirror and go, "I like what I'm looking at"? Lord knows I can't. Probably should have done something more with this, but what the heck? I mean, let's face it. The only person that sees me right now is my son. Okay, and a few other people, but none of which I'm connected to per se. Yeah, I know it's not my coffee cup. Orange juice, it's a difference. But still sitting over on my left hand, on my left side, which means my left hand still gets the exercise. And I'll tell you, I've noticed a major difference by using it regularly in the speed, in the reaction time, and the coordination. So we've got this neat little list. Now, of course, we had a problem. We got to bed last night at 10:30-ish. Woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Of course, my son turned around and goes, he thought that we were upset with him. Right. And because he was still up and he was supposed to go to bed at a functional hour. But like I told him, the reality of it is that, he didn't wake me up. I woke up of my own accord. So I was up from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the morning-ish. And already got, whoop, that's the wrong sheet. Oh, I left the sheet up front. That figures. I've already got a good half dozen of my goals done today, which is great from my standpoint. Got a lot more to get done. This is just one of them. Could have done this one as soon as I got up. Then the timestamp would have been 1 o'clock in the morning PST. And I'll tell you, that would have been a little different, but I've done that before. This is why I tell people I don't exactly have a schedule. Funny part about it is I find schedules work kind of like budgets. Schedules are great if you're waking up at exactly the same time all the time. And on that note, if you're having trouble getting up and getting mobilized, pick a time to get up. Okay, don't worry about when you're going to bed so much. Pick a time to get up. Okay, get up at the same time every day and you can get your day started properly. If you get tired after that, like force yourself out of bed. If you get tired after that, go and lay down for an hour or so. It will take time, but if you consistently get up at the same time every morning, you'll find you get into a reasonable routine. Okay. But, like I told him, you didn't wake me up, so I'm not going to complain. Well, he trundled off to bed, and I carried on with my day. And then found about 3 hours later, nope, basically 2.5 hours of sleep wasn't going to cut it for today. So I went back to bed for a bit. Now I've got a whole pile of things that I have to get done today. Mind you, I had those on the list already. Okay, but I did manage to get my finances turned around to the point, the tracking of them, where I now can glance at a sheet and I can know for certain how much money I've got, how much money I've spent. Okay, next month will be a little different because that'll be the first month I've got everything organized. I don't have to move money around. It's just all right there. Okay, so this month is good, but it's still got some things in the tracking that I'm not impressed with. The accounts, I know exactly where they're standing. Like I said when I started this back on March 6th, the reality is this is a case of turning my entire life around. And it took me almost 58 years to get to this point. It's not going to turn around overnight. However, it does mean that I am going to be in better shape. Okay, I am going to get my life into the order I desire. When I went to the doctor and they told me what shape my health was in that I can't physically see, okay, I made a commitment to me right then and there that I was going to alter everything that wasn't working medically and I would use whatever crutches I required. Okay, until I could get my body running properly. And rest assured, I have no qualms about this idea that I can get it all turned around. So, today when I get this done, as a matter of fact, because I'm trying to keep things organized here, nope, I'm not going to. I'm just going to stay put. I was going to go and grab something, but I think I can finish this. I mean, it's only, halfway, it's not that long of a delay. And that's not called procrastination, that's called prioritization. That's a nice way and a lot of people, now be careful of that. I used to procrastinate all the time. And the difference between procrastination and prioritization is procrastination basically says, never do today what you can put off till tomorrow. Well, of course, I had this neat little idea of never do today what you can put off, or more to the point, never do what you can put off. So I didn't get a whole lot accomplished. With prioritization, it's get it all done today, but here's the order that you're going to get it done. Okay, that's the difference between prioritization and procrastination. For me, it works really well, and again, I've mentioned this before, everything I say is strictly my opinion. Okay, now I do have the advantage of having dealt with over 80,000 clients over the 45 years, 48 years almost of my career. Okay, so when I talk about people go in this fashion, it's based on my own personal experience, not based on what somebody wrote. Okay, so now let's try and get focused a little, shall we? Of course, here we are, 10 minutes into the broadcast, into the recording, and here we are. So hopefully we get a thumbs up. Okay, subscribe to our channel so that you can get into the rest of the information that's coming out. We've got a lot of things that we're trying to do, especially today. Okay, and that's just because today is a good day to do it. But get things organized in your own head. Are you right now content with the way your world is? Take a look around you, around where you're sitting right now while you're watching this. On the possibility that you're listening to this while you're driving, stay focused on the car and just listen to me babble. Okay. Other than that, it's usually safe to take a look around where you are, if you're at home or if you're in your office especially, and note what has to be put back in place or what's got to be tidied up. Okay, that's where you start turning your life around right now. There's no point, when do you start? Well, now would be the best time because you're only ever going to do it now. Okay, you can't have started it yesterday unless you're still doing it from yesterday, but you can't begin it yesterday if you haven't already begun it. Okay, now granted, you could put it off until tomorrow. We talked about procrastination briefly there anyway, but putting it off won't get it done. So you start right where you are right now and go, what am I not content with? Okay, and start moving the stuff, start eliminating the things that are causing a problem. Okay, that is one of the critical factors that you've got to look at. It's so much easier to identify the things that you're not content with than it is to identify the things that you might be content with. Okay, that would be the very big issue. Okay, now the nice little part of it, we do use that word a lot, don't we? I wonder if there is a way, and I'll have to look into it. Of course, if somebody comes up with this, absolutely drop me a line at one of the contact points below and let me know. I wonder if there's a way that I can actually turn my speech around a little so that okay doesn't keep coming up. Either slow my speaking down so that I don't keep throwing in that little filler. Okay, so I'm going to have to look into that. Just because it's one of these things that personally I notice, and I'm looking at it going, there has to be a function to get the brain retrained so you don't do that. Now, it may just be a question of slowing down the speed that we rattle off information. It may be just a question of thinking things through before saying a word. I'm betting that's what it is. Time will tell. I'll do the research that I need to. I'll talk to the people that I need to and find out which ones have the information that I require. And in all fairness, again, if you go back to an old video of mine, one that is marked language, okay, I'm pretty certain that I did one on the word need. And it's one of those words that is self-deprecating. Because when I say I'm going to talk to the people I need to, I'm literally saying I'm going to avoid talking to the people that would be beneficial to me. Now, this is not a really great goal, but it happens more often than you may realize. Now that I've got things moving in the right direction for me, it's time for you to get the world working in a positive direction for you. By removing the stresses, by removing the conflicts, this world will be a lot better for all of us. Okay, not just one group of people, not just one income bracket, but everybody from the lowest snail on the table. And when I mean the lowest snail, I mean the littlest guy. Okay, from the lowest snail all the way to the most financially successful multi-billionaire on the planet. Every one of us can benefit by making this world a more peaceful place. How many people that have had, that you know of, that have more money than you have, or have your money, that have lost a whole pile because of a natural disaster, a turn of events that you had absolutely no control over, such as robbery. Robbery, if you own a building, somebody driving through the front end. That was annoying. That's called a hiccup that I didn't really desire. But it happens. When you get to a certain level of comfort, virtually everybody knows somebody that has lost something that was very valuable to them. And my sincere condolences to the ones that have lost people that are very valuable to them, or people that are very close to them. Always a hard thing to deal with. The difference is people that are really close, when you lose them, when you lose them, bringing them back isn't going to happen. All you've got, and this is what keeps them close, doesn't trap them, but does keep them close. All you've got left is memories and memorabilia, such as photographs of them. When you lose material stuff, okay, if it doesn't have sentimental value, if it's just stuff, you can get it back. And I have talked to enough people that have been financially successful that have lost it, and they've all said the same thing, pretty much. Once you make a certain level of money, okay, when you lose that, it's easier to get there again than it was in the first place. And this is something I've personally found. I've dug myself out of holes before. This one I am bound and determined I'm not going to let myself get back into. And this time I'm pretty certain I've got the right mindset to do it. Which is why I was so happy when I went to the doctor and got my blood pressure checked. It had dropped. It had dropped about 40 points in 2 weeks. Talk about a major shift. Going to the doctor, that was a staggering drop in blood pressure. Okay, short of punching a hole in your heart and having a real big problem, blood pressure collapses completely. Of course, that has another side effect. Take a look at where your life is right now. Now, you're the only person on the planet that can be successful for you. You're the only one that can change the direction your life is going in a positive fashion. Okay, now all sorts of outside interference can cause major hiccups in the direction your life is going. But you're the one that was a really poor pronunciation. You're the one that has total control over how you respond to the obstacles you get faced with. Now, you can curl up in a ball and you can go, my life is miserable, I've lost it all. I remember talking to a chap that was living on the street one day. For me, talking to people living on the street is just plain normal. But I was sitting down talking to this one chap, and we were talking about just the day-to-day state of the world and what have you. Very well-adjusted chap, very friendly. The fact he lived on the street and I lived in an apartment wasn't of any concern to either one of us. But this other chap come along and he sits down beside us. And he was in a business suit, a little rough around the collar, but he plants himself on the seat beside us, on the ground beside us, and he goes, I'm in such terrible shape. I used to have it all. I had a great job. I had a fabulous wife. I had a family. I had a house. I've lost everything. I'm on the street now, and, I've got nothing left. I'm living in a cardboard box. The guy beside me, his eyes popped wide open. The guy living on the street, his eyes popped wide open. He looks over at the guy, he leans over and he goes, you got a cardboard box? It's all a matter of perspective. What you've got, appreciate what you have, certainly strive for more. There's nothing wrong with, in my opinion, there is nothing wrong with envy. Envy simply says, in my opinion, you have something I'd like, or you're able to do something that I'm not able to do. So I'd like to be able to do it. I'd like to be able to have that sort of thing. That's what prompts questions. That's what prompts people to find a way to move forward, to better their life, in their own eyes, if you will. Okay, now I remember a time, lifetimes ago, where that was the norm, where envy was rampant, not jealousy. Envy is the difference. What it boils down to with envy is, I desire that, so I'm going to work hard to get that, to become that good. Jealousy goes, you've got something I want, so I'm going to take it by any means necessary. Okay, jealousy is not a good thing. I tried that when I was a lot younger. Tasted it one day and went, I don't like this feeling. I was really, really unhappy with something I had seen. I was very jealous of it. And I got looking at the jealousy and went, this is not making me feel good, so why am I holding on to it? That was the last time I felt jealous that I recall. I mean, there's been times when I felt a little uneasy, a whole lot disappointed. I didn't become a recluse because I was really happy with everything I was seeing. And I'm not entirely certain if I really qualify as a recluse, so much as just reclusive. Because I do leave the house in order to get exercise, as in go for a walk, that sort of thing. But the trick is, when you figure out what you're not content with, start eliminating that. Okay, now, well, that's not bad. I was going to show you that one of the books that I've got that I do have, and it's on the list below, which reminds me I've got to do that today. There's another book that I've got to get on that list below. Okay, that I've just looked into getting it printed again. I've got copies in stock. Okay, the reality is, I have a lot of different things I do all at the same time. And most of the funny part is, I used to have everything sitting right here within arm's reach. I find it funny. Used to have everything right here. I could pick it up and I didn't have to go anywhere. I've rearranged some things to keep the desk itself clear, so that the energy runs properly. So that when I'm working on something, the energy can run where it needs to, and I can get things accomplished properly. I will be, because I've got the desk clear here now, I will be able to start working with my left hand without actually going very far, and start writing again with my left hand. Now, I'm not expecting it to be a work of art to start with. I'm literally having to train my writing hand and my left hand writing from scratch. I never trained it in the first place. That was the problem. When I first started writing left-handed, it just happened very naturally, what they call very organically. I didn't even know that I could write left-handed at that point. But when I had the stroke, it shut that whole left arm down. Not a fun thing. I'll tell you, given the option between heart attacks and strokes, heart attacks are far easier to recover from, in my opinion. I know this because I've had them, and it's been like 24 hours up and running. Almost literally, except for the bad leg. But you start off with what you're not content with. Eliminate the things in your life you're not content with, and all you're left with is a world where you're content. If your world is content, the people you deal with are going to end up experience that contentment. That feeling is going to replicate itself across the civilization. Now, if you go with the idea that I've heard tell about many times, called 6 degrees of separation, which literally states that every individual knows everyone on the planet with only six people between them. I know somebody, you know somebody, somewhere in the middle of that, we have a connection between us. This massive neural net that occupies the entire planet. Okay. And when I'm talking about occupies the entire planet, understand that the plants and the trees talk to each other, as do the animals. And if you talk to one, it was kind of comical when you start extrapolating this, because when I was down in Victoria, BC, down on the island for a holiday a couple of years ago, I got talking to a mated pair of seagulls there. Now, because I made that connection, I now am connected to every one of those seagulls. Now, that may be weird from your standpoint, but by extrapolation, I now know every one of the seagulls that is in existence. Okay. Or more to the point, there's a connection there that I am connected to them. Now, the neat part about it is if you know a dog, if you've got a dog or you've got a cat, you're also subsequently connected to all of those animals. Okay, you don't have to believe it. Okay, it's like you don't have to believe in gravity for gravity to play havoc with your life. Especially if you step off a stair without paying attention. I'll tell you, it's a real quick way to get to the bottom of the stairs, but painful as heck when you get there. Normally if you go downstairs, it's like step, step, step. That's great. If you take a wrong step, though, it's step, step, tumble, 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 thump. Okay, you're still down the stairs a lot faster, but I'll tell you, I prefer not falling down the stairs. Now, of course, because of the way that my childhood, or not my childhood, but my young adulthood went, I've walked downstairs, I've fallen downstairs, I've walked upstairs and fallen upstairs, which gives you an idea of the shape I was in. Okay. By far, walking is far less painful than falling. It's also, now people talk about things being, about change being painful, change being scary. Just move your coffee cup. Just say one word just say one word, which means changing the shape of your vocal cords, the shape of your mouth, and see how scared or how painful that is. Okay, you'll find change is actually very easy. Change is very, very relaxed. It's not something that requires a whole lot of fear. And this is why I talk about the idea that if you're following a spiritual guide that is telling you to fear that which you're worshiping or that which you're following, if they're leading to it is fear this because they are vengeful. Well, that's a good idea. If somebody's vengeful, being cautious of them is a good idea. But why would you worship somebody you're scared of? Okay. From my standpoint, it really boils down to this. It doesn't matter to me what you call people. Well, it does. What you call your spiritual guide. Call it any name you choose. Any gender, any nationality, any race, doesn't matter. Okay. The message I would like to get out to everyone is, all in all, we are all members of the same planet. We are all tied to the same neural net. We are all equally valuable. Okay, we are all worth, especially spiritually speaking, we are all worth the same amount. Okay, now, that said, we're at the half-hour mark, so we're going to close this down. But thank you very much for joining us. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. And take a look back at the other videos. Watch for the new ones coming out. And we will catch up with you again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.